Hello everybody, I'm InTheLittleWood, also known as Martin. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Fortnite. So, in this video, I'm not going to beat around the bush. You can see the footage of the brand new New Year's Eve event that happens inside the game. And I will let you know that it is towards the end of the video, because literally, in my game of Fortnite, as you'll see, that was where it happened. It happened in sort of like a top 5 situation, and it's very, very cool. So if you want to skip to that, I'm sure there's a timestamp in the top comment somewhere, and that'll help you find it just that little bit quicker. But I wanted to use this opportunity, seeing as this video didn't have a commentary, because this was just a random match that I played this morning and it happened to happen. I wanted to sort of use this as a moment to sort of reflect on the year, because I think a lot of people throw shade at myself, a lot of people throw shade at Fortnite and a lot of other creators as well, and I think people forget just how much has been added into the game and how much fun I've actually had this year whilst creating Fortnite content. So what I've done is I've gone through all of my videos, okay, and I've basically gotten like a couple of date stamps and stuff like that, and kind of from my thumbnails and my titles that I can see sort of like a roadmap as to what items did and didn't get added in or removed and stuff like that as the year went on. So why don't we start all the way back in January of this year. January 17th, I uploaded my first Fortnite video in 2018, and actually it's still one of my favourites. Watching it back, I am god awful at the game, like really, really, really bad. But I'm there in my codename Elf skin, which, by the way, is mine, not Lachlan's. He may have changed his channel banner, he may have moved to this skin. He should have stayed on Drift, because now people are just accusing me of stealing his skin, whatever. But no, in this video, I did basically, like, it was almost like a diary, I guess. So, I basically called it Buddy the Elf, after, obviously, the Will Ferrell movie. And it was almost as if it was like a diary of Buddy's week. So, it was basically me trying to collate together lots of different bits of footage that I got from various LTMs over the Christmas period, and make it into one, like, compact video. And I really like that video, actually. So, if you haven't seen that before, that'll be linked down in the description, as well as any of the other ones that I, like, talk about in more depth today. And then we had the Feb 5th, so there was a bit of a gap in content between there, but then we had the release of the minigun as well as the chug jug, and in that video actually I landed at Tilted Towers, but the minigun being added into the game was a big game changer, because obviously the build meta was only just starting to ramp up and starting to become a thing thanks to people like Myth and Ninja and the rest of the guys, and then obviously they threw this in as almost like a bit of a deterrent, didn't they? So that was kind of like the beginning of, well, not even the beginning of the end really, because the build meta is still 100% there. I mean, people turtle, but I guess the new boombox is there to deal with that. But no, that was an interesting time. And again, that video I particularly enjoyed, because that one ended in a really, really intense battle at the end, where I think a guy had like a scar, I had a minigun, and we were just stood out in the open because no one knew how to build in that day. And we were just going head to head, and that was just like really, really, really good. Literally a couple of days later, we had Valentine's Day, so we had the crossbow being added in for the first time, and there was even that special LTM where it was only crossbows as far as I recall, and that one again was one of my favourite patches. Some of the skins that came from that event were awesome. Like, does everybody remember the gargoyle skin, like the stone statue one? That one basically was used for people to basically like do like T-posing, I guess, in the graveyard over at Haunted Hills, and people would just straight up fall for it. Like, it was brilliant. It was just so good, and that was one of the first kind of like thematic events I guess they did inside of Fortnite, because you have to remember, back in Feb, that was like the start of the game, right? Like, we pretty much had the game release in sort of like September time of the previous year, maybe a bit earlier than that actually, but the beginning of season 2 I think was something like Feb 22nd, so all of this is still within season 1 currently. Of course, on the end of season 1 as well, we had the impulse grenades added in, which were pretty good. I remember watching really old clips of, like, you know, Lupo and Ninja just like trolling one another, throwing each other off of cliffs. I remember watching Dakotas just like slapping them down and just making people like fall off mountains when they thought they were about to try and take the high ground, and it was just like a big nope situation for them. But yeah, impulse grenades were really sick. And then on Feb 22nd, 2018, we had the introduction of the Battle Pass. So basically, Season 3 kicked off, brand new hand cannon was available inside of the game, but the Battle Pass was just something very exciting, very fresh, and very new. We had the John Wick skin, we had the, was he called Reaver or Reaper? One or the other. We got him at the end of it at level 100, we had Rust Lord and all the space characters. It was just a very, very exciting time in Fortnite, and we thought, you know, this is it now. Every season is going to be like, you know, a ton of new skins, and from then it has been. The only difference that I'm noticing actually watching the old footage back is seeing that it's gone from only about 60 days or 67 days all the way up now to us up getting upwards of what, like a 10-week average, maybe even 11 weeks for this season. So it's interesting that they're sort of like drawing them out longer, but I don't know if that's for longevity and to give them more time to come up with new ideas for battle passes, or the more likely option in my opinion is just the fact that some people complained they didn't have long enough to finish the battle pass. So this is basically Epic granted them that ability, but either way it was the start of something new. And then not not long after that, actually, kind of between, in that kind of week, I guess, we had the first teaser of the jetpack. You remember how, like, the jetpack was massively hyped, everyone was really excited for it, and then on, like, I think pretty much, like, the day before it was meant to release, they were like, yeah, sorry, guys, like, we can't actually release it, it's not really ready, we found a bug or two, and it just basically just never came into the game for, like, months afterwards, and we will address that soon enough. So that was that, and then, of course, roll around to March 1st, and I remember that was when we got our first introduction to the Twitch Prime packs. That is, of course, where we saw the massive boom for a load of streamers in regards to getting Twitch Prime subs, because obviously people were trying to redeem those skins, and they were watching their favourite streamers, and it was like, hey, you can actually go ahead and do that. So that, again, was just like this whole new thing. Like, a Battle Pass hadn't really been a thing previously in any other games, but Fortnite sort of went into it, did the best version of it, I guess, from the outset, and it was just sick. It was just so good. So that was that. Between then and the next one, we had the remote bombs release. That was quite cool. So as much as people say they don't like the C4, do you like Dynamite better? No, I didn't think so. That's the thing, like, people complain about a certain, like, item in the game, and Epic go, okay, we'll take that away and give you something 3 times more powerful. Huh? How'd you like them apples? Maybe stop whinging a little bit. So that was that, and then we rolled around to March 16th, so about 2 weeks later, and we had the release of Fortnite on iOS. So this actually came out at a really awkward time for me. I wanted to make a few videos on it, but I think the night that I was streaming, I was doing a long hour, like 6-hour stream, which is long for me. I know some streamers, that's like their bread and butter, but for me, that was a long stream. I was up until, like, just gone midnight, and because I think I was going away on a trip, like, the next day or something, and basically the iOS released that evening, so I played like 4 or 5 rounds of it. I think the best I achieved was like a 3rd place, which wasn't awful, but it wasn't too bad. But since then, it's been like, what, are we talking 9 months now pretty much, and there's still no Bluetooth controller support, and I really wish there was. I just think it would open it up to so many more people. Like, if a kid could have an iPad and they could have some random third-party Bluetooth accessory like a controller, or Epic could just release their own first-party one, that would be sick. But basically, if they did that, I think iOS would take off even more than it surprisingly has, to be honest. So anyway, between then and the next video that I want to talk about, we had the release of the Blitz LTM. I really enjoyed that. That was like the first time it appeared as well, so that whole concept to people was brand new and just really cool. We had the heavy shotgun, very nicely introduced, and I still love it to this day. And then a slightly controversial item got added in, the old guided missiles. They got added into the game, and they were a kind of a love-hate situation. A lot of people couldn't decide whether they were really against them or really for them. They did go ahead and end up nerfing things like its movement speed, its like rotation speed, and all that sort of stuff. But in the end, it did ultimately get vaulted, didn't it, after not too long of a period. And then we rolled around to the late March period. We're like 7 minutes in and we're still only here. But in late March was when I did my video with Dan, which was really fun, teaching him how to play Fortnite for the first time. I don't even know if Dan has actually kept up playing Fortnite since. I can't imagine he has, because it just doesn't strike me as one of his kinds of games. But we did that Little Incubed episode. That was really fun, and I kind of wish we did more. Maybe I'll have to see if he does play Fortnite at all, and maybe we can do a little extra something with it. Between then and the next video, we had the release of vending machines. That was a massive thing. So people, like, initially were assuming that the vending machines were just like a troll, like, because there have been so many people suggesting it on Reddit that they never really thought that Epic would add in something that they, like, suggested. It was kind of one of the first instances where Reddit material made it inside of the game, which I just thought at the time was really cool, and still do now, actually. Like, you know, later in the year we had things like the Tender Defender skin, an entire concept of a skin, back bling, pickaxe, everything, made it into the game, and it was one of the first times we saw Epic being like, yeah, we listen, we care, we want to share it all with you. So basically, following that, we had the release on April 11th, just a few days after my birthday, of the Fortnite replay mode, and I love that. Like, literally just being able to jump into a game afterwards, see it from all different perspectives. It was just great. It was really great. And now, you know what, I was, with all the features that they've added into Fortnite, I'm so pleasantly surprised at how fleshed out they are. Like, you know, the Fortnite replay mode had, you know, rewind, fast forward, it had a large circle area where you could jump to every single player. I genuinely just thought you could replay your match from your own perspective, just have the regular HUD up, and that would be it, and that's that. I think the only note that I still have is that we're 9 months into it now, and we still can't see our own hotbar inside of the replay mode. Like, I'm not even bothered about seeing ammunition count or material count. I just want to see my hotbar, similar to how now when you spectate people, you can actually see what they've got in their hotbar. Like, I want that replicated inside of replay mode. So if anyone from Epic is watching this, please put that in. Anyway, following that, we had the addition of the Porta Fort. So that's the first one. So you know, the one that's the double box and then like the fanned out top. That finally got added in, and all this while, by the way, the prison was still there. Like, I remember remember being near the prison when I fought in one of my first Portal Fort fights, and it was brilliant. We had the LMG added in, which again didn't last too long, couple months it had, and then it was gone straight away. The Klinger grenade, I think they're still about, right? The sticky nades, you know, the plunger ones. So they're still inside of the game, which is pretty nifty. So we got them inside of the game. And then came May the 1st, 2018. Season 4 released inside of Fortnite. And I feel like this was the real shifting point for Fortnite. Replay mode was pretty cool, but I feel like the beginning of this story, such a dramatic change in the map, blasting a hole in the middle of the map, basically taking out the entirety of the factories and the Dusty Depot. God rest their souls. This was a changing point, dudes. This was a massive shifting point. And in the weeks to come, we couldn't have expected half of the stuff that came out. First and foremost, a week after the Season 4 began, the Infinity Gauntlet event kicked in. Who would have ever thought that a Marvel character, and such a significant one as well, would appear inside of Fortnite, not just as a skin or like a little pack that you could buy, but as a full-on LTM. It was nuts. The Infinity Gauntlet event was fantastic. I loved it. People tried to complain about how powerful Thanos was. He's Thanos. He's supposed to be powerful. But no, that was just, it was dope. It was so good, and I absolutely loved it. I kind of wish it went on for longer. Following that, it was a couple of weeks of like normality, and we had some slow but sure changes around the map. You know, we had like little things like, you know, the divot sort of changing and evolving as the weeks went on. And then we had finally, on May 23rd, the release of the jetpack. Again, didn't last all that long, but finally, after months and months of waiting, we had the jetpack release. And again, kind of like with most things inside of Fortnite, things just work as you would expect them to. As in, like, as a player trying that item for the first time, you didn't feel as though there was this huge learning curve. And I think the same for the grappler as well. I felt that that was so superbly made that I was just really happy with it. So between that video and the next one I want to talk about, there was the bouncer trap added in, and I kind of don't know why the bouncers aren't in the game still. That one's a strange one to have removed in my opinion, but hey, what are you going to do? Then we had the thermal scoped AR. That one is a very underutilized item. It has near like first shot accuracy with most shots, and I don't understand why people don't use it more. You can see through structures and stuff like that, although to this day, considering it's thermal, it still doesn't show up when somebody has a campfire. The campfire doesn't look like bright and glowy and all that sort of stuff, so that's something they need to address still. And then we move on to June 15th, the release of the Nintendo Switch version. That was where I got my first ever console win inside of Fortnite, and I was really excited about it. So that was really cool to see. And I remember actually that there was like, you know, very slight leak about this information from not the developers, I guess. It was more the people that adapted it to the Switch. They posted about it on their job listings or like, you know, their sort of portfolio about a week before, and I made a video on it, and everyone told me how stupid I was, and then literally 7 days later it appeared. So and then we move on to June 18th. So this one for me was really cool actually. So it happened on the 17th, put the video out on the 18th. This was me taking part in my first ever Fortnite tournament. So Minnie put it together, and it was called Fortnite Fight Night, and I just thought it was really cool, honestly. So the really simple concept was, it was everyone playing in duos, and then you would queue up with another duo, and you would go into a squads match. You would land in different locations, or you could land in the same. And basically, it was whichever duo could amass the most kills in that window would be the victor. And that was really fun. It was like a 4-hour live stream in the end. I think me and Timmy got into the finals, if I remember correctly, which we never expected to do. But that was particularly good. That was a really good run. And I loved that video in the end. Between then and the next video, we had the release of the stink grenades. Still in the game today. Still super good for getting people out of their boxes. And then came on June 27th, something that we'd been asking for ages, playground mode. Playground mode released. It was a little primitive at the time when it released, but that seems to be the case for most things in Fortnite when they first released. They're either super well polished, or they're well polished but lacking a lot of features, and Playground mode kind of had that vibe to it. You know, you couldn't pick teams, you couldn't, you know, change different parameters like health and shields and respawn heights and stuff like that, but that eventually came within time, and that was really cool. And again, that just took everything to a whole new level. It gave people a canvas to create all these different mini games, and obviously that in turn would eventually become the creative mode, which I just thought was really cool. But pretty much the very next day, actually, immediately that evening when the Playground mode released, I was on stream, minding my own business, and then all of a sudden, I heard a siren. A loud foghorn, like warning air raid kind of siren. And that was the beginning of the missile event, and that was weird. That was really weird. People noticed that a timer began to appear over in the villain base, and within 2 or 3 days, we got to June 30th, and that is when we had the missile event. The first ever in-game event in Fortnite that affected all players, affected the landscape of the game. It introduced the rifts and everything else that came with that. It was weird, dude. Not the Watcher, what was he called? The Visitor basically went ahead and just absolutely annihilated, like, so much just in that one process. It was really odd. And then, of course, between then and my Season 4 recap wrap, which came out on July 11th, was the drum gun. And I still, to this day, wish the drum gun was still in the game. I really liked it, but I can see why people disliked it. Pretty much after the missile event happened, I was like, I need to document this. I need to make a little something, because that was just stupidly epic, and I need it to be great. So I decided to make a Season 4 recap wrap. I did a rap track summarising the story, because there actually was a story within the wallpapers that you got for the weekly, you know, battle pass challenges and stuff, and that was how that all came to be, which was really cool. Of course, the very next day we had the beginning of Season 5, which was nice, and not too long after that, actually, probably barely a week after that season began, we started to see a change with the storms, and I thought that was really interesting. So, of course, we had the beginning of Season 5 where we had the change of Lazy Links, Paradise Palms, Viking Village. We had the rifts appearing all over the map. We had skins like Drift, and we had like that sweat skin, you know, the lifeguard one. We had her in there as well, and we also had Ragnarok, of course, and just everything just went nuts again, just absolutely nuts. The following like month or so was just filled with all sorts. The new SMG, Slurp Juicers, birthday event, which was really cool, with a cake back bling to be had, and birthday cakes scattered all around the map that gave you shield and health, which was mad. We had the compact SMG added in, the P90, and also the Rift to go, and then the story developed again. So we'd had the rifts about the place, we'd had a tear in the sky from the missile, and then eventually it started lashing out. So that over the course of about 2 or 3 days, basically we noticed that there was lightning coming from the rift or the tear in the sky, and it was striking down a circle of cacti over in the desert biome. And basically, after a little while, Kevin appeared. A massive thunderstorm raged on one particular point, and what was left was Kevin, which was just so sick. After that, we had the shockwave grenade appear. Kevin moved his way around the map and went all over the place. We had the high stakes event on September 3rd. That was really cool. Like, bear in mind, the high stakes event was just literally like, it was basically like a capture the flag mode essentially, but like a little bit more elaborated to fit the battle royale setting. But that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. Between then and middle of September or late September, we had the grappler, the suppressed AR, the Porter Fortress. That was kind of a scary one to have added into the game, but it's actually not been too OP. I've actually quite enjoyed having that in the game. And that's, of course, at the minute, the only place where you can find bouncers. So, you know, the more the merrier, really. On September 19th, I was actually out in America, I think, when this happened. I think I was, or maybe it was like a couple of days after. But on September 19th is when Kevin finally reached Loot Lake, sank into it, and turned the lake purple, which was ridiculous. Of course, that meant that I had a massive cliffhanger off the end of my music video. So the Season 5 recap wrap that I did on September 27th was left very open-ended. We had the visitors turn up. No, not the visitors. What were they called? Oh, I can't remember what they're called. Basically, the guys that were trying to fix what the visitor had done. But they basically turned up over at the motel, and things just got even nuttier after that point. Of course, then we roll into Season 6, and again, Season 6 has just had way more in it than we ever anticipated. Some of the skins were, like, dope as well. I'm just trying to scroll through my YouTube page to try and actually find it. Oh, that was it. Yeah, of course. We had Calamity. We had DJ Yonder. Man, that feels like it was last week, doesn't it? That's crazy. So we had the release of that. The Chiller Trap came into the game. The Quad Crash came into the game. Late October, we had the Fortnite event, which was really, really cool. So basically, if you missed that, essentially zombies appeared all around the map at the various locations where Kevin had resided and stuck himself down. And during all of this process as well, by the way, Kevin is floating around in the sky and having a little wander about the place until eventually he returned to Loot Lake and shattered. Kevin finally exploded, he shattered, and we had, without a doubt, the coolest in-game event yet, the butterfly event. We realised finally that the rifts are actually butterflies. We went to a strange glitch, void, matrixy kind of area, and it was all just very confusing. And we still, to this day, don't really have any explanation from that. It does, for me personally, ties into the theory that this is just basically a combat simulator for people in the Save the World side of the game, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe, obviously, we've had the Christmas season, which never has any lore inside of it. So maybe next season is where our story with the rifts and everything will then progress again. So I'm quite looking forward to that. We've got a couple more weeks to get through first, but that is hopefully what's going to happen in sort of Feb of this coming year. After that, we had the heavy assault rifle release, the mounted turrets and the dynamite as well. And then I went to Epic HQ. which was probably the highlight of my year. Like, honestly, it was just so cool. Every time that we had a discussion with them about a feature or a functionality or a mode that we wanted in for creative mode, it was never a no. It was always a yes, but, or a yeah, that sounds awesome. And I honestly, I can't tell you how creatively fulfilling that week was. Not just using the tools and making maps and feeling accomplished in that regard, but working hand in hand with a studio that actually cares about the game and the community that's around them. It was just really eye-opening. It just genuinely, like, increased my love for Fortnite even more so, which made it all the easier when I got home from that trip to basically go ahead and release the Season 6 recap wrap. Not as much happened in Season 6, I feel, at times, but for the most part, it was pretty cool. The song turned out really nicely. The following day, I released the creative mode video, so Epic were really cool and let us upload that a day early, before Season 7 actually began and everybody else would get their hands on the tools. And then Season 7 rolls around on December 6th of 2018. Not only do we have weapon wraps added to the game, not only has the map been changed entirely in the bottom left corner, we've got planes in the game and so much more as well. The Infinity Blade has been in, and it's left. I can appreciate why people didn't like the Infinity Blade, but I feel as though Epic removing it entirely from the game and just putting an ice block over it and basically pretending like it never happened, I don't think that's the right call, personally. I feel like they should have it in the game as an LTM, or have it in the game but just tweak it. Like, I feel like, honestly, if the sword wielder had less health, or if they couldn't do their jump move so frequently, that would nerf the sword wielder quite significantly. Like, that'd be fine. Their first response was to take building away from the sword wielder, but that was never the issue, was it? It was just never the problem that we had with the sword. It was its sheer power and mobility that was just a little bit too much. It felt stronger than Thanos, honestly. I remember struggling more with the Infinity Blade than I did with Thanos, and that's saying something. But anyway, following that, December 18th, we had the release of the Christmas prefabs, which means that we could make the Christmas adventure map, which I did, which I was really happy and proud with. And then, I think on December 22nd, came the release of my favourite LTM to date. We had the release of Slide. The Slide LTM is so fun, so ridiculous, and I really hope it's not just reserved for the winter seasons. I just want it in occasionally as the year goes on, and I'm sure everybody else felt the same, because I saw tweets aplenty about it, and I'm hoping that Epic saw that on their, like, you know, playtime and watch numbers or whatever, and they decided to bring it back later in the year because it was brilliant. And then just as recently as yesterday, wrapping up the year, we had the release of the Boombox and the Castle prefab. So basically, boomboxes are a new way to get rid of builds. They have like a 2.5 tile radius roughly, and they basically destroy any builds that are within their radius for about like 10 seconds, it feels, maybe even more. And then of course we have the castle prefabs. So the castle prefabs are now going to allow us to build our own haunted hills, our own, like, you know, polar peak, whatever it is you want to make, you can now do it. And then today, you might have already seen it in the video, I don't know how this falls into the timeline with it all, but we had the New Year's Eve event kick off, giant disco ball coming down from the sky, fireworks go off spelling out 2019, a giant llama in the sky as well, and loads more. Everybody forced to dance for a few seconds, because why not? We're all friends, right? Right? Yeah, we are, I'm sure we are. But that's it. That is the year in Fortnite. I'm sure I've missed out a ton of stuff, but let's be real here. I've spoken for 22-ish minutes about everything that Epic has added into this game this year. Compare that to other game studios. Compare that to other Battle Royales. Compare it to other MOBAs, other MMOs. I've never seen a studio throw out this much content so consistently and so high quality ever, and that's why I'm so proud to make Fortnite content and be a part of the community. I just genuinely really love it. I'm going to make a separate video tomorrow where I discuss where my channel is going in the future, because there have been people expressing their concerns about me only uploading Fortnite content, but I am going to be uploading variety content again in the new year. It's just there's not any games I want to play at the minute, but keep an eye out for that one. Let me know what your favourite moment of 2018 was inside of Fortnite. Was it a particular play that you made? Was it a skin that was released, an LTM, a weapon, an item, whatever it is? I want to hear about it. I genuinely want to know what you guys valued this year inside of Fortnite and what your hopes are for 2019 inside of the game. Leave a like on the video if you watched this far. Be sure to use my supporter creator code InTheLittleWood in the shop, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.